Don't worry about it. We're not going to attack anybody. We're okay. In the meantime, the Taliban was taking territory all throughout the country in the north and down in the south in the Pashtun area. So what you have
I got to rewind this again. I'm sorry.
on the notion that somehow the 300,000 troops we had trained and equipped was going to just collapse. We were going to give up. I don't think anybody anticipated that.
Senator McConnell said it was predictable the Taliban was going to take over.
Well, by the end of the year, it said that was a real possibility.
Again, I had to rewind this again. The fact that the fact that you give novice weapons and stuff, and you try to make it a quick Mickey Mouse course in training them, then you want to send them to fight a group that's been trained by the CIA. I'll say it again, trained by the CIA, pass down that knowledge from generation to generation, and you think that the Afghanis are going to win, the Afghani military are going to win against hardened, trained killers. And you had military personnel that told you that that they were going to take over unless you followed the information, unless you followed the intel given. Didn't do that. Wow. I told you, man. I told you. Like I say it again, if this was, okay, a real political party, both Democrat and Republican, they wouldn't stand for their leaders acting like this. They would not stand it. They would put their foot on their neck and get them to act right and to not make them look bad in front of the whole free world.
But no one said it was going to take over then when it was being asked.
When you look at what's happened over the last week, was it a failure of intelligence, planning, execution, or judgment?
Look, I don't think it was a fair. Look, it was a simple choice, George. When the Taliban, went back and put it another way, when you had the government of Afghanistan, the leader of that government getting in a plane and taking off and going to another country, when you saw the significant collapse of the Afghan troops we had trained, up to 300,000 of them, just leaving their equipment and taking off, that was, I'm not. That's what happened. That's simply what happened. So the question was, in the beginning, the threshold question was, do we commit to leave within the time frame was set? We extended it to September 1st. Or do we put significantly more troops in? I hear people say, well, you had 2,500 folks in there and nothing was happening. There wasn't any war. But guess what? The fact was that the reason it wasn't happening is the last president negotiated a year earlier that he'd be out by May 1st and that the return would be no attack on American forces. That's what was done. That's why nothing was happening. But the idea, if I had said, I had a simple choice. If I had said, we're going to stay, then we better be prepared to put a whole hell of a lot more troops in.
But your top military advisors warned against withdrawing at this timeline. They wanted you to keep about 2,500 troops.
No, they didn't. It was split. That wasn't true. That wasn't true.
They didn't tell you that they wanted troops to stay?
No, not in terms of whether we were going to get out in a time frame all troops. They didn't argue against that.
So no one told your military advisors did not tell you, no, we should just keep 2,500 troops. It's been a stable situation for the last several years. We can do that. We can continue to do that.
No one said that to me that I can recall. Look, George, the reason why it's been stable for a year is because the last president said we're leaving. And here's the deal I want to make with you, Taliban. We're agreeing to leave if you agree not to attack us between now and...
I don't understand how you're going to make a deal with heartless killers that don't give a damn about anybody. You're not supposed to make deals with terrorists. Yep. America's on its own. If this is how they handle things overseas, how you just let... may I remind you that the Afghani citizens were trying to get on the military plane, literally trying to get on that plane and hang on to the outside of that plane until they got out of Pakistan. with that plane taking off. They literally risked their lives to get out of Afghanistan. They fell to their deaths. There's a video on YouTube about that. That's how desperate they were to get out of Afghanistan, because the Taliban were going to take over, and they did. But they didn't respect or listen to the intel that was given by the Trump administration. Yeah, I know this is, fake puppet government, both sides. But the fact that you could just make these decisions and knowing people's lives are in your hands and people die under your watch needlessly, that's a lot to have on your conscience. Just saying. Purposely making decisions like this that are going to get people killed.
By the time we leave on May the 1st, less than 2 months after I was elected to office, I was sworn in. All of a sudden, I have a May 1 deadline. I got one of two choices. Do I say we're staying? And do you think we would not have to put a hell of a lot more troops? We had tens of thousands of troops there before. Tens of thousands. Do you think we would have just said no problem? Don't worry about it. We're not going to attack anybody. We're okay. In the meantime, the Taliban was taking territory all throughout the country in the north and down in the south in the Pashtun area.
So would you have withdrawn troops like this even if President Trump had not made that deal with the Taliban?
I would have tried to figure out how to withdraw those troops, yes. Because look, George, there is no good time to leave Afghanistan. 15 years ago would have been a problem. 15 years from now.
Like I said, puppet government making deals with terrorists. Trump making deals. Biden yeah. But let's continue hearing this foolishness coming out of Biden's mouth.
Am I going to send your sons and your daughters to war in Afghanistan in perpetuity? No one can name for me a time when this would end. And what constitutes defeat of the Taliban? What constitutes defeat? Would we have left then? Let's say they surrender like before. Okay. Do we leave then? Do you think anybody, the same people think we should stay, would have said no, good time to go? We spent over $1 trillion, George. 20 years. There was no good time to leave. But if there's no good time to leave.
Hold on. This man right here, Joe Biden, right? He spent millions of dollars to bribe the Ukraine to get his son off from illegal business practices he had with the Ukraine. Bribe the Ukrainian government because their economy was in the dire straits, to get his son off the hook from being prosecuted. Okay? Yet he can't have empathy for the Afghani people. Someone's sons, someone's daughters, children. You risked your neck to get your own son out of a jam, Mr. Biden. But you couldn't do that for the Afghani people.
If you know you're going to have to leave eventually, why not have everything in place to make sure for Americans to get out, to make sure Afghan allies get out, so we don't have these psychotic scenes in Kabul?
Number one, as you know, the intelligence community did not say back in June or July that in fact this was going to collapse like it did. Number one.
They thought the Taliban would take over, but not this quickly.
Not even close. We had already issued several thousand passports to the SIVs, the people, the transit.
I don't believe Biden at all when he says it. Not this quickly. They probably had information. Okay? They had the information. He didn't want to look at it. He wanted to do his own thing. And this is what happened.
When I came into office before we had negotiated getting out at the end of August. Secondly, we're in a position where what we did was took precautions. That's why I authorized that there be 6,000 American troops to flow in to accommodate this exit, number one. And number two, provided all that aircraft in the Gulf to get people out. We pre-positioned all of that, anticipated that. Now, granted, it took 2 days to take control of the airport. We have control of the airport now.
Still a lot of pandemonium outside the airport.
Well, there is, but look, but no one's being killed right now. God forgive me if I'm wrong about that, but no one's being killed right now. People are, we got 1,000, somewhere 1,200 out yesterday, a couple thousand a day, and it's increasing. We're going to get those people out.
But we've all seen the pictures. We've seen those hundreds of people packed into a C-17. We've seen Afghans falling.
That was 4 days ago, 5 days ago.
What did you think when you first saw those pictures?
What I thought was
Do you hear him? That was 4 days ago. Come on, man. That was 4 days ago. Give me a break. I'm the president of the free world, damn it. Do you hear the you hear the nonsense? The gall. The absolute disrespect for these people. Yet this man got his son off from being tried by Ukrainian law. Okay. That's all I got to say. Now imagine if, that was his Hunter was about to face Ukrainian justice. And the judge says, come on, man.
We have to gain control of this. We have to move this more quickly. We have to move in a way in which we can take control of that airport. And we did.
You don't think this could have been handled? This actually could have been handled better in any way? No mistakes?
No, I don't think it could have been handled in a way that we're going to go back in hindsight and look, but the idea that somehow there's a way to have gotten out without chaos ensuing, I don't know how that happens. I don't know how that happened.
So for you, that was always priced into the decision?
Yes. Now, exactly what happened, I've not priced in, but I knew that they're going to have an enormous. Look, one of the things we didn't know is what the Taliban would do in terms of trying to keep people from getting out. What they would do.
All troops are supposed to be out by August 31st. Even if Americans and our Afghan allies are still trying to get out, they're going to leave?
We're going to do everything in our power to get all Americans out and our allies out.
Does that mean troops will stay beyond August 31st if necessary?
It depends on where we are and whether we can ramp these numbers up to 5,000 to 7,000 a day coming out. If that's the case, they'll all be out.
Because we've got like 10,000 to 15,000 Americans in the country right now, right? And are you committed to making sure that the troops stay until every American who wants to be out is out?
Yes.
How about our Afghan allies? Does the commitment hold for them as well?
The commitment holds to get everyone out, that in fact we can get out and everyone should come out. And that's the objective. That's what we're doing now.
Notice he didn't say yes. He didn't say no. I'm just going to cut this short right here. And I'm just going to go over to what I've got from the Military Times. Because this dude is a trip. Yeah. I mean, no, Joe, just no. Just somebody should have been there. Some PR guy should have been like, just cut. Just cut the interview. Like, so here we go. As U.S. military sticks to airport, British and French forces are rescuing their citizens in Kabul, reports. Notice this. As U.S. military sticks to airport, British and French forces are rescuing their citizens in Kabul. As Defense Department continues to stick to its plan of not reaching out into Kabul to assist U.S. personnel and Afghan helpers evacuate, British and French forces have done so to rescue their citizens. Multiple outlets report. The Daily Mail reported that London deployed an additional 300 troops to Kabul, specifically to extract trapped British nationals earlier in the week. Within hours of touching down in Kabul, the British troops retrieved some 200 British nationals from around Kabul. The Telegraph reported, prompting the missions were reports of Taliban hunting down former Afghan government officials, along with Britons stuck behind a web of Taliban checkpoints lining the route to the airport. Additionally, France 24 reports that the French military has been conducting similar operations since Monday. French President Emmanuel Macron thanked French security forces on Twitter for executing a sensitive operation which evacuated more than 200 French and Afghan citizens. News of these operations by NATO partners in Afghanistan leaves some Americans asking for Washington to follow suit. Matt Zeller, who served in Afghanistan as an Army intelligence officer, is now a member of the Association of Wartime Allies, a group dedicated to relocating Afghans who helped the U.S. express his frustration on Facebook. Some of our NATO allies have already figured out better solutions. Some, like the French, are just going out with their special forces and getting their people by whatever means necessary. Mr. President, the French can do it, so can we, Zeller wrote. Zeller's frustration stemmed from a chaotic scene around the HKIA that prevents potential evacuees from reaching safety. Earlier this week, Zeller told Military Times that the situation in Kabul was dire and shaping up to be worse than Saigon. There's a total chaos at the airport. This is the absolute fiasco we all learned about, and nobody listened to, Zeller told Military Times. They need to then begin establishing secure corridors in Kabul so people can get to the airport, because what's happened is the Taliban has erected checkpoints everywhere. Yesterday, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said yesterday that despite the U.S. having at least 5,000 troops on the ground, it does not have the capability to reach out beyond HKIA. The forces that we have focused on security of the airfield, and you know how important that is, and you know what happens if we lose the ability to provide that security, Austin told reporters from a podium in the Pentagon. Austin's comments come amid reports of both British and French military units doing precisely that, pushing out into Kabul to secure the safety of their citizens, occurring despite Daily Mail reporting that the British contingent numbers less than 1,000 troops. His press conference yesterday also acknowledged that the challenges that Taliban checkpoints present for those seeking to leave Afghanistan. However, Austin stated that the U.S. government would continue to negotiate safe passages of evacuees with the Taliban rather than take action. We've gone back to be allowed through, Austin said. Thursday morning, Pentagon Press Secretary John F. Kirby and Army Major Gen. William D. Hank Taylor, Deputy Director of Regional Operations and Force Management for the Joint Chiefs of Staff, reiterated that the U.S. military mission in Kabul is focused solely on operations at HKIA. Negotiating with the Taliban for safe passage is not enough for Zealous and others, particularly in light of the actions taken by Britain and France. It's ungodly, man, sinful. Dane Boker, who deployed multiple times to Afghanistan, including with a Joint Special Operations Task Force, told Military Times. Zeller finished his message this morning by asking the president to take action as the window to fly out both Americans and Afghans is rapidly closing. Among those actions was a request to use the U.S. troops on the ground to secure safe passage for those needing to fly out. The Taliban cannot be allowed to remain 100 miles from U.S. Marines, where they can commit atrocities in front of us, knowing we will do nothing. They are thugs. We are the United States of America. Show them we won't be bullied. Use the might of our forces to create a humanitarian corridor in Kabul so that people can safely get to the airport without this chaos and constant Taliban interference, Zeller wrote. This is sad. French and British military are doing what they're supposed to do. All right? To get Afghans and civilians and their people, British citizens, out of Afghanistan. He needs to be removed from office. Yeah, Georgia, so does Trump, because Trump should have been removed. He making a deal with the Taliban. No, you don't make deals with these people. Taliban and ISIS will make hostage torture videos to humiliate the USA. This is Biden and his admin's fault. No one has any respect for him. Yeah, he didn't listen to the information given by the Trump administration. He didn't. And this is what happened. All right. He is also making, Biden is also making that if you do not get the, how do I say? the magic potion. If you do not get the magic potion, you will lose your rights to have your guns. You will lose the right to buy guns. Look that up. All right, this is all I got to say for now. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. Later.